Well, we're here for the Chris McPherson Show to talk Origin 2, a sneaky little additional daily dose coming in to pick apart the Origin 2 squads in the lead-up. Obviously, Origin 1 was a comprehensive win to the Blues, and Queensland got their backs against the wall and have had to make some significant decisions. Billy Slater's most significant decision is the bold move in some quarters, as it's viewed, to drop veteran halfback and captain Dally Cherry Evans, which looks likely to have ended his 26-game Origin career. Tom Dearden does step in, which will bring some youthful energy into the Maroons halves. And we know from game one that Dearden looked absolutely electric. He's been great for the Cowboys so far this season. The big question is, can he handle the step up in quality? It's going to be an interesting outcome for them, playing the full 80 minutes as opposed to coming in off the bench. But you feel, even as a dyed-in-the-wool New South Welshman, that this has got to spark something from Queensland. Dearden is the next generation. He has continued to get better and better in recent years, and now is the time for him to shine. But he's going to need some support from some of those other players there, the likes of those in the spine. The Kalen Pongers and Harry Grants need to be better than they were in game one to deliver some more alongside him, and they all return. One of the other big changes, Kurt Capewell returns. Looks like he'll be a straight slot in for Beau Fermor on the bench. His versatility as well as his experience certainly should bolster Queensland, and it'll help out that edge defence where they had some challenges. But again, it looks like they're going to likely run with the same outside backs with Coates, Toya, Tabuai-Fidow and Holmes, and they're going to need to sort out their combinations and their communication, because that was severely and drastically lacking in game one, and it was a big Achilles heel. We saw that with one of the early tries where there was just no trust in Toya's defence, and they shot up and in and allowed To'o to get to the outside to score, which isn't going to be ideal. It isn't going to be something they can continue on with if they want to try and keep in this series. We're also expecting that Kurt Mann will debut. He should come in as the utility off the bench, which is great. He's obviously taken leaps and bounds ahead in his career in recent years. He's been a key part of the Bulldogs this year, and his versatility where he can play anywhere almost in the back five. He can slot in at 5'8" at a pinch. He can play hooker. He can play lock. He can play on an edge as well. So realistically, all you're ruling out is putting him at front row or at 7. So he gives you huge options, huge versatility. And if you've got him and Capewell there, your options are quite open. It does question, though, whether or not if they go with that sort of bench makeup, is there enough aggression? Is there enough size coming off the bench? Lindsay Collins is expected to come off the bench. Trent Luero. I don't know if Liero really gives you enough. I personally, and again, it might be a little bit of bias in this, but I think Corey Horsburgh is the one that you need there. The big red, get him up, get him firing. He's going to make some impact. As a Blues fan, I'm happy that he's in the extended squad and doesn't look like he's going to be in the match day 17, but we'll wait and see what Billy ends up going with. I certainly would be leaning that way because I think he gives that mongrel and punch off the bench that you might need. Yes, he has a silly penalty in him here and there, but I think that's the risk that Queensland needs to take. It needs to be chips in at this point because they don't have another second chance from here. If they drop this game, the series is done and dusted, and all of a sudden there will be people calling for Billy Slater's and others' heads. So we'll wait and see. The other talking points, obviously, Reece Walsh still omitted. Slater's opted to stay with Kalen Ponga at fullback and cites that team balance and cohesion is the key piece there and trying to keep some consistency. So interesting there. It's a variation of their pick and stick policy, which seems only applied in certain circumstances because they haven't done that with Dally Cherry Evans. But probably the biggest headline for mine is a man who's not likely to feature in the actual 17 on the game day. We expect he'll be the 18th or 19th man, and that is Ezra Mam coming in. That's a puzzling decision. He's barely played any football since that suspension that we saw him face earlier this year, the 9 weeks out for his off-field misdemeanours. And it's just wild to think that so quickly everything is forgiven and forgotten. Again, lots will say that, he's not going to play, so it's not going to matter that much, but it's what it represents and what it says to the broader rugby league community. He hasn't exactly set the world on fire since he's come back either, so it's not like he's banging down the door and, putting up a case that refuses denial of selection. So, yeah, really puzzling for mine in terms of bringing him in. Jack Howarth, another one. It was a bit of an interesting left field selection. Again, probably just coming in around the squad to get some experience. I don't think he'll play. He'll either be 18th or 19th man alongside Mam, you would think, and then it'll just be about who is the other forward that misses out. Is it Horsburgh? Is it going to be Liero or maybe someone else? But I would think it would be down to those two. But I guess we will wait and see how that all shapes up. On the other side of the ledger, the Blues camp, pretty steady as she goes. Stefano Utokomanu is coming in. He replaces the injured Mitch Barnett. He'll come onto the bench. So, look, his form has impressed selectors. He's been really solid and strong. And obviously, Craig Bellamy has some input into this squad as well. He's Laurie Daly's right hand in these conversations, advisor and assistant. So he's always going to, push the case, you would think, of Melbourne players who are in form. And he has certainly been in form. So that's great to see. Another one, obviously, Hamoli Olakawatu withdrew from the squad, which is understandable, to be with his partner for the birth of their child, which then saw Keon Kolomatangi stay in the extended squad, which is a bit of an interesting one. And more interestingly so, Lindsay Smith called in, which a lot of people have sort of called out that May from the West Tigers, he's been one of the standout props this year in a side that's been battling, middling at best. And, for Lindsay Smith to be parachuted in there, again, I can only think that it was a case that he's not going to be getting the game time and it's about the experience and exposure. But, again, I would have thought May might have been a better fit there. Matt Burton coming in for Campbell Graham sort of makes a bit more sense. Burton probably a bit more versatile if someone does go down in the lead-up. We know that he can play pretty much anywhere from 1 to 6 at a pinch, giving you some different options there. You'd think that, outside he'd probably most likely slot in the 2 through 6 jerseys if he needed to as a utility and come in. If something happened to Dylan Edwards, you'd probably more likely see a Latrell Mitchell or a Stephen Crichton go back to fullback. So I think pretty steady as she goes. The Lindsay Smith one a bit peculiar and puzzling for me, but we know that that Penrith DNA they talk about after all the premierships they've won, despite their very average start to the season, it still shines through, and it still seems to be some preference of picking players out of more successful environments than maybe out of places like the West Tigers. So it's harsh. You do feel for May a little bit. You feel he's got to be there or thereabouts, but we'll wait and see how it all shapes up. It's certainly the Blues go in, they've gone with the pick and stick, and understandably so, just Mitch Barnett forcing their hand with that injury change. So not a lot else there. It would be interesting to see whether that's the 17 they go with. You would expect it is, and how Queensland shape up. But on paper, I've got a feel that New South Wales still hold a significant upper hand here. Did and does improve them, but I just think, again, Ponga not quite in the form that we probably want to see from him if you're a Queenslander. But there's a few other gaps there, a few other question marks, and just maybe a bit of aggression and mongrel lacking off their bench, and just that size impact that Origin really feels like it demands in the mate against mate, state against state battle. But we will see much more next week. Until then, we'll just keep keeping you up to date. Make sure to stay tuned for Thursday for our weekly show at 6 p.m. And we look forward to talking lots of sport with you. The black and white on all your sports note. Great opinions as we head through the week and the sporting landscape.